Evan, Canty, and Michelle are unsportsmanlike.
Do you guys think Dan Campbell's a soup guy?
No.
No?
No. He's a meat and potatoes guy. No question.
No, he looks like a beef barley type guy.
Maybe a stew.
Matzo ball?
A stew.
Dan Campbell and I just matzo ball soup on a Friday night. What do you think?
Unsportsmanlike. Weekday mornings starting at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN2. Carlin versus Joe on ESPN Radio.
You cannot put this game on a pedestal like that, and then as soon as the game is over, expect cooler heads.
You enjoy the thrill of gambling, but what happens when it becomes a problem? Whether you want to cut back or quit gambling altogether, the Gambling Clinic has been helping people change their gambling for over 2 decades. We're here to help, not to judge. The Gambling Clinic is a Tennessee-based clinic offering in-person and telehealth support to help people win back their life. Visit us at thegamblingclinic.com. This project is funded by the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. Brought to you by the Gambling Clinic, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
Primetime action with Gil Alexander.
We have our friends, some of whom are huge sports fans, some of whom like to gamble.
And Matt Brown.
70% of my bet is probably in-game.
Weeknights at 6 on your home for VEASAN, 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9 The Fan.
30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. It's the George Plaster Show, featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famers Kelly Holcomb and young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Welcome into the George Plaster Show on a Thursday in Nashville. George is not with me in person here at the Fordyce Center right now, but he is in his car, and he will check in here in just a second. We'll also have Terry McCormick check in as well. No Kelly Holcomb today. He is actually calling the TSSAA state title right now between Nashville Christian and Columbia Academy on MyTV 30. So tune into that if you want to hear Kelly's voice. He won't be on the show today, but we do have George with us now. George, you there?
Billy, I am here. How about you?
I'm here. How you doing?
I'm good.
Tough one for BGA today.
Around the corner. I'm sorry. Say that again.
I said tough one for BGA today.
Yeah, and look, I knew the likelihood that they had a real challenge in CPA. That's a really good football team they played. And Ingle Martin, first of all, I congratulate him. He's been a friend for years. That's a class school. They conduct themselves really well. And on the BGA side, I'm thrilled Bobby Bentley is here. He's going to return my school to where it ought to be in football, and that is as a contender on a yearly basis. I'm thrilled he's there.
Yeah, what a performance from Rawls Patterson there at CPA. Had nearly 350 yards. I think it was 336 yards, 4 touchdowns. Arnett Hayes, Wildcat receiver, also had a good day as well. A couple of onside late for BGA, but it wasn't enough as CPA got the win 38-26. But we do have Terry McCormick with us. Before we talk a lot more high school football, we've got a big one tonight, McCallie and Baylor. But we're talking a little Titans now with Terry McCormick. Terry, you there?
I'm here.
What's going on?
Hey, Terry, I'm going to give you a little scoop.
All right. Go ahead, George.
The winner of the Baylor-McCallie game will play the Toronto Argonauts for the Canadian Football League title.
Nice. Nice.
Did you like that?
That's good. That's good.
What's going on out at the Titans?
Well, getting ready, obviously, to play Jacksonville. And there's one guy that the Titans signed away in the offseason from the Jaguars. And even though he's kind of downplaying it, Calvin Ridley, I think this is going to be a big game, a big deal for him on Sunday, because I think he didn't really say it in so many words when the Titans signed him, but you kind of felt like something happened that, led him away from the Jaguars and to come to the Titans. And maybe it was more than just money. He never really came out and said what it was, but there was some inference that that there were some things he wasn't comfortable with in the organization. So I think Calvin Ridley's going to play with a chip on his shoulder Sunday, George.
Terry, I guess there's a little bit of me that's confused about Calvin Ridley. I don't feel like the Titans have come anywhere close to maximizing him. I hear all this stuff about, he and whatever quarterback have to get on the same page. I always thought that's what these summer glorified babysitting sessions are all about. But on your end, what do you think what is it we should be able to expect a year from now from Ridley?
Well, that's a conversation kind of similar to something that Kelly and I had at the bowling event. We were talking about Will Levis and his growth and, the holes that are still on this roster that have to be filled before you can get a true evaluation of what he can be. And one of the things that we talked about was, that, when you go shopping in free agency, you don't necessarily get parts that fit exactly to what you want to do. When you draft, you can kind of bring those guys in and mold them and shape them exactly the way you want them and hope that they work out. But when you bring in free agents, guys who've been elsewhere, it takes some time to, see how they fit. And I think that's kind of been the case for Ridley this year. He's had some moments where he's been really good. He's had some moments where he's not been so good. And there have been some moments of miscommunication between him and the quarterbacks. And I think ideally a year from now, I think, if the Titans are smart, I think one more wide receiver might be something that they would covet in the draft, somebody who could potentially be a true number one. I think Calvin Ridley right now, even though he is their number one, I think he's probably best suited as a high-level number two as opposed to being the number one. So I think it all depends on what else the Titans do to put more pieces around Levis and where Ridley would fit into that a year from now, whether he's still their number one guy or if he settles into a number two role so that Nick Westbrook-Akine could go back to being number three.
Well, Westbrook-Akine has played better than a three. And, I guess I don't really know what Tyler Boyd is in this thing. There are times where it feels like he's in the witness protection program. Same thing with Chiga Okonkwo. I just don't think they're using some of the weapons they've got to its fullest.
Yeah, I mean, there probably is some of that. I mean, some of that may be where the reads are taking Levis on, as he drops back the pass as far as who's open and who's not, or what play has been called. But it has been kind of inconsistent for some of those guys this year. Like you said, you mentioned Tyler Boyd, who's on a one-year contract. He'll spike at times, and then at other times it seems like he's invisible. And I think that when you look at it, I think that's just kind of some of the growing pains of this offense is trying to figure out whose role fits where. And honestly, Westbrook-Akine has probably done the best job of anybody of finding a role and taking advantage of it.
Oh, by a mile he has. To me, of the pleasant surprises on this team, and there aren't many, he's number one on the list.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about that. And he's a guy that's, played on one-year contracts, I think now for 3 years in a row, at least 2 years in a row, maybe 3 years in a row. If you're Rand Carthon, I think you have to, within reason, you don't want to, break the bank with the guy, but I think he's earned some long-term security here. I think a 2 or 3 year deal, in the range of maybe what Jawan Jennings got from San Francisco is in order because I think this guy has proven his value to you.
Anything else you want to get to?
Yeah, one other little thing we talked a little bit about. I talked to Jaquan Jackson today, and trying to, stay focused and not, trying not to mess up any more punt returns. He said he's doing everything he can to stay positive. He's not allowing any negativity to creep in, but I still think it sounds like that the Titans may be leaning toward bringing Mason Kinsey up from the practice squad and having him handle the punts on Sunday.
Terry, good work as always. We'll do it again tomorrow.
All right, sounds good, George. See you then.
Thank you, Terry.
All right.
Billy, it's all yours. If you'll look, I'm right behind you.
I love it. It's time for the update, brought to you by Lori Burnett of Leland. You can find her online at mortgageladyusa.com or give her a call, 615-969-4350. Well, we're going to start with some TSSAA state high school football games. The game one today in Division II AA, CPA beat BGA, as we talked about, 38-26, seventh state title for CPA. Big day for Rawls Patterson, 336 yards on the ground and 4 touchdowns. So CPA wins it in AA. Right now, Division II single A, Columbia Academy and Nashville Christian going at it. Nashville Christian leads Columbia Academy 14-7. Chip Walters and Kelly Holcomb on the call, and that one, that is almost at the half. So you got a good one so far, Nashville Christian and Columbia Academy. And then tonight, McCallie and Baylor, 6 o'clock. That's a rematch from, of course, a game they play every regular season, but it's also a rematch from the state title last year. And, George, I'm trying to remember who won that last year.
I have no idea.
I want to say it was Baylor, but anyway, again, McCallie Baylor tonight at 6 o'clock.
I'm sure whoever won the game will probably endow some sort of a scholarship.
The Toronto Argonauts.
God.
That's got to come to a head eventually.
Well, look, shame on the TSSAA for sitting there and watching it.
And doing nothing.
I mean, is this a Canadian school or are these schools representing the state of Tennessee?
There's some questions to be answered there. There's also some questions to be answered over at Bridgestone Arena. The Preds are on a road trip. They lost again last night to the Maple Leafs, and they're on the road to play the Canadians, a winnable game tonight at 6.
They have won 3 of their last 15. I think that's right. They are, at the moment, the lowest scoring team in the NHL. And Andrew Burnett was brought in here under the belief that he would improve their offense. Simply put, he's going to get fired soon if something dramatic doesn't change. I know Barry Trotz. I hear what he says. I know that he wants to keep him, but this can't go on much longer. And Andrew Burnett is going to get fired if there is not something dramatic really soon. Period.
Who would have thought that would have been the case, or that was going to be the case coming into this season? Either way, Preds Canadians tonight, 6 o'clock in Montreal. Thursday night football, Packers are in Detroit to play the Lions, 7:15, second meeting of the season. Green Bay fell to the Lions earlier this season, 24-14. The Lions are riding a 10-game winning streak.
The Lions have, ESPN's made a big to-do about this, 13 players who are on injured reserve. Oof. Their defense has sort of been torn to shreds, and thus, tonight when we get to, our pick of the night, just remember that. File it away.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Got some college football notes. Former Patriots coach Bill Belichick has interviewed for the North Carolina head coaching job. Just reported by Inside Carolina, Bill Belichick has just interviewed to replace Mac Brown at North Carolina.
Okay. And certainly that will create some wave of excitement around North Carolina. However, let me see if I got this right. You're replacing one guy in his 70s with another guy in his 70s? Now, I'm not saying I wouldn't interview him. I'd want to find out what his energy level is, want to find out what he knows about, all the stuff off the field in college football. I mean, it's worth finding out. But if you hire him, you're gonna run into the same stuff, which is he's in his 70s. Not that that's means he can't be any good, but you've sort of tossed the other guy out with some of the same thoughts.
Yeah. This would be an interesting fit. I don't see this happening, but if it does, I mean, you got to imagine there's some financial some NIL backing potentially built in there with Belichick. But
that's quite a story.
Gosh, that'd be interesting. Also, Barryon Brown, Kentucky wide receiver, plans to enter the transfer portal. He's a Nashville native, played at Pearl Cone. You got to imagine Vanderbilt, Tennessee. Does he want to come home? Does he want something bigger? Does he, that could be a guy to watch in the portal because he's really talented.
It seems like, and I hate this because I think Mark Stoops has done just miracle work at Kentucky. It feels like it's kind of coming to an end, that they've hit a point that's kind of a low point.
Yep.
And I wonder where this is going. I really do.
Well, Lincoln Riley probably wonders where his tenure at USC is going right now. He brushed off the possibility of leaving USC, though, during his signing day press conference yesterday. He said, I tell them I'm a USC Trojan. I'm at the place I want to be. We talked yesterday. UCF reached out to him. So,
listen, if that's the way he feels, then good for him to squash the rumor. However, I will say this. That rumor has been out there for more than a month, and the rumor was specifically at the University of Florida when Billy Napier was dead man walking. There's a little bit of difference between the resources at UCF and the resources at Florida.
Yeah.
There just are.
Also, UCLA has fired offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy after one season. They ranked 126th nationally in scoring. Of course, he was with the Chiefs, a couple of Super Bowl teams. Didn't really work out this year for Bieniemy at UCLA.
It's a weird career. He's had a lot of people say, how come he's never gotten a head coaching job? You talk to different people in the NFL, they'll give you different answers. But there sure has been a lot of bouncing around.
Yeah. Also, in the SEC-ACC Challenge, the SEC dominates. They win the Challenge 14-2. The only teams to lose were Kentucky and Auburn, ironically. But, they played some good teams. Kentucky lost to Clemson a couple of nights ago, and then Auburn lost to Duke at Cameron Indoor last night. Vanderbilt got a big win over Virginia Tech. Not a very good Virginia Tech team, but always good to get a road win, especially in the ACC. Alabama walloped North Carolina 94-79. Nate Oates has a pretty good team again this year. And then Creighton pulls off the upset against number 1 Kansas, 76-63 last night. So that's what we got going on.
Don't anybody jump to anything on this, but can you imagine late in the NCAA basketball tournament if they paired Alabama against Auburn?
Ooh,
can you imagine?
That would be awesome. In the South somewhere, Charlotte, maybe Birmingham. Gosh, that'd be awesome.
Okay, after the break, Scott Ramsey, who is the executive director of the Music City Bowl, I would say he's a fairly busy camper right about now. We'll find out what the process is like, what teams they might have a chance at, who maybe has been eliminated. I think Mississippi State is one we can eliminate, but we'll let him get to more of them after the break. This is 94.9 The Fan.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, you need to call Bart Durham. And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling. They enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun. Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donley Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donley have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonleyTimmons.com.
At Strike and Spare, the official home of the 4th annual Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night.
It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
We're back. We've got some important things to talk with Scott Ramsey about as bowl season is very close to kicking off. Let's bring him up. Scott, we're going to go through storytelling time, though, first. You ready?
Ready.
Okay, so Monday night, before we do the actual bowling event, we've got 90 underprivileged kids who come in and they bowl. We feed them. We give them a Christmas gift. It's a nice deal. But at one point, I'm trying to get them to sing Santa Claus is Coming to Town. And you know, it wasn't necessarily, you know, on key. And there's a lot of noise, and it's just a big Rugrat fest. And Chris Casasanta, who you know well,
yes,
comes up and whispers in my ear, you know Rick wouldn't like this.
George, he might have pushed you to the side and took over.
Oh, my goodness. He was never – there was a story, that, and you've heard it, that you all put Rick in charge of some of the kids for the pregame, and Chris Casasanta would try to get these kids fired up and making noise, and it drove Rick absolutely crazy.
Yeah, Rick was the sergeant at arms for 2,000 youth football kids that would get on and off the field. And, of course, on live TV, George, you know, I mean, it's a window. I mean, we had 12 minutes on and off. We got 2,000 kids. Here's how you're going to do it. We're going to read your names. And when I tell you to run off that field, you know, and, you know, Chris, he's nice. He was kind of being fun with the kids. And Rick goes, nope, here's what we're doing. Stand in line, sit there. You're going to run out there. You're going to, you know, Chris, quit it. You know, I mean, he was Rick was in charge.
Sergeant Carter.
Sergeant Region.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's this week like for you as you await finding out who's actually coming here?
Wow, George, you know, it seems like we've talked about this all 27 years we've been doing this, but this year's different. It really is. With the 12-team playoff, with all the, I say disruption, but change in not just college sports, but college football over the last 2 or 3 years. this year has been a lot different. Some things I can't probably put in words or describe very well, but to kind of do a little reset. You remember we did a 6-year. Everybody did. I say everybody. When I say everybody, all the Bulls in the country did a 6-year agreement in 2019 for the seasons 2020 through 2025. Well, we all know what hit in 20 and 21. COVID, another wave of COVID, canceled games, resets, the whole deal. And then you had all the conference realignment. You had a 12-team playoff inserted in the middle of our contract cycle. Are we okay with that? Are we going to undo our TV deals, our stadium lease deals, our sponsor deals, our conference affiliation deals all across the country and start over with 2 years ago, and then in 26 start over? So we went through all of that. No, let's just try to figure out a way to kind of bridge the bowl system here for a couple years, because we're going to have a reset in 26, and let's figure it out. So we really like where we are. SEC, Big Ten, ESPN. I think we've got the right three partners, George, that we're really in good shape. But this year, it just feels a little different going through the process. Certainly, everybody feels like they're at the doorstep of getting in or out, whether it's Alabama, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Miami, you pick them. And you're really going to have to wait until Sunday rankings come out, because who gets in is literally going to reset the selection pool for all of us, from, the Citrus Bowl to Tampa to Nashville to Vegas to Houston to Jacksonville to everywhere. So it's really been a difficult planning cycle for us to try to get ready for Sunday's announcement, be organized and prepared, which we typically are. So I feel like I'm rambling here a little bit, but it's been very different.
No, I get it. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on right about now. Do you have any say-so anymore in the teams, or is it the SEC and the others simply saying, okay, this one and this one, they're coming to you?
As we sit here today in 2024, I would say our preference is probably not as strong as it was a couple of years ago, or definitely before COVID. And I think the premise was good, George, that we did a good job for many years, especially in what I call we always called the pool of the SEC, to where we really tried to put the best you could, the right team in the right city in the right year, and avoid repeats, try to not to have a team come back more than once every 3 or 4 years. And you had a really good geographical mix. You had Houston, Nashville, Tampa, Orlando, Jackson. You had NFL stadiums that kind of fit their geographical footprint, and we had a lot of varieties. And I think that really benefited Nashville because of our geographical location and our city's opportunity to host an event for a perfect 3 or 4 day kind of fan trip. But now I feel like it's a little bit like the playoffs, where everybody feels like they can kind of manage or dictate from the coach or the AD or the school side a little bit more than it was. So we still work together, but it's much more of a, I would say it's swung a little bit more to the conference side, because right now, like on the SEC, we don't know which group I'm looking at. Is Alabama into the college football playoff, or are they out? If they're selected by the Citrus Bowl or not selected by the Citrus Bowl and one of the other 9-3s, then who would be here? If they're in, it's a whole new set of other dynamics, and other teams are trying to avoid some rematch situations as well on the Big Ten or ACC side. So it's been a very challenging year from being prepared for Sunday's selection.
I want to ask you about 2 schools, and I know you have to be careful, because the minute you say something, it shows up somewhere. Well, he said this, and what do we? But it feels like this would be the one and maybe only time that you could ever get Michigan here. Do you? I'm guessing you want that. Is that a possibility?
Yeah, on the Big Ten side, I would say the process is still probably slanted a little bit more toward the bowl selections. We picked 3rd there. Now there's a lot of bumpers and qualifiers on that process. we've always had kind of a 2-win differential that we don't skip regardless. It's not just a rule of thumb. It's just kind of been an industry standard. And then secondly, you can only repeat one team in this 6-year window in any bowl, any Big Ten affiliate bowl. So I'll give you Iowa, for example. They've been twice to the Citrus Bowl in the last 3 years. So they're eliminated to go to the Citrus Bowl, regardless of their record this year. So as you move through that process, it goes Citrus Bowl, ReliaQuest, the old Outback Bowl in Tampa. Both are playing on New Year's Eve now. That's the other thing the Big 12 or the 12-team playoff has changed is game dates. You've got a lot more exclusive windows around New Year's. But anyway, it goes Tampa, then it comes here. So I think certainly Michigan is an opportunity for us this year. I think with their win over Ohio State, the recruiting win, the little bit of a resurgence here at year end, and certainly we know they're one of the strongest brands in college sports. They're going to be attractive to Tampa as well, who picks right ahead of us. So I think it's going to come down to either Michigan or Iowa on that side, since Iowa's 8-4, and we'll see kind of where it goes. That would be our repeat. So next year we wouldn't be able to pick Iowa, for example. So that's kind of how that process works.
I get the pitfalls to this one, but is Vandy in the mix?
Boy, I tell you what, George, I feel like given this, most years I would say definitely. This year I would say I feel like probably not. I just feel like between the 9-3, 8-4 team clusters, and then you add in a resurgence Florida here at the end at 7-5. I feel like there's so many teams in that grouping that our team's going to come from that grouping this year. In most years, I think you include the 6 and 6s, but this year you got Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Vandy at 6 and 6. So you've got a big grouping of teams. I just feel like you're going to get a bowl trip this year rather than stay at home. Now I say that, and somebody's going to quote me that it's definitive. It's not. I'm just kind of making what my gut is right now as we kind of go into Sunday. I just feel like there's so many teams in there, and that we're really going to be a good destination for a 9-3 Missouri, maybe an 8-4 A&M, maybe a Florida for the first time ever, maybe Ole Miss, maybe Alabama. I mean, you can make all kinds of shell games here with some games. So who knows?
So before I turn it over to Billy, I know you got a question or two for Scott. Let me say this. There's some bowls out there that my bowling event would be the highlight of those kids' trip to a city. These people really do it right. The entertainment factor that they provide to the players on the two teams, nobody touches what this group does, and that's the truth.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I think, George, that is what we've built a reputation on as a city, and I think, recently you probably saw we bid on the FCS national championship game, and my presentation was that I said I think our city hosts events and understands that players, coaches, fans, media, administrators all have an opportunity here to have a great experience, and we work hard, not forgetting about one group. And I certainly think would be a great site for that. I'm appreciative of Candace and Vanderbilt and Beth DeBush at OVC of all partnering with us on that. And fingers crossed, we have a good chance at that here in the next week or so. But we'll see where that decision goes. But to your point, I think for 27 years on the bowl, the SEC tournament's locked in here because I think the experience the fans and the players have at Bridgestone Arena. Our marathon's doing well. So I just think there's a lot of kind of things that go to that we've really built a great reputation, and we work hard on that, regardless of the teams coming. Some years it's from a ticket selling standpoint or a rating standpoint or whatever you may want to say is a better matchup. But sometimes we certainly can't control the wins and losses, and they don't always kind of, match up perfectly every year. But we're looking forward to it this year and looking forward to seeing where the whole college football enterprise goes in the future. And I think we're as good a position as any city in the country to take advantage of where those opportunities are.
So, Billy, I left the FCS meat on the bone for you.
Yeah, that was an interesting, piece of breaking news a couple of days ago, and we talked about it on the show. I think it'd be a perfect venue, and Mike Organ was on with us yesterday talking about the capacity, slight difference from what they've been playing at, a little bit bigger. What excites you about that, and what could that potentially turn into? You think, maybe even more opportunities down the road, not just at Vanderbilt, but in Nashville.
Yeah, Billy. I think first and foremost, it's a national championship. Period. Other than the women's Final Four and the U.S. Women's Golf Amateur, in my 30 years of being here, we've only had 2 national championships at the amateur level. Obviously, Preds in the Stanley Cup. But as far as the events you could bid on and recruit to bring to your city, those 2, and this would be the 3rd. So I think first and foremost, national championship. Second, I just think it fits our city. I think when you look at the strengths of FCS football, for the most part, with the upper Midwest, the Montanas, the Dakotas, the Idahos, but then also the OVC based here and having some regional teams that compete at a high level in that league, and a chance to kind of bring them here on a weekend that we had a lot of opportunity. It's right after the New Year's Eve event, so we could go bowl game, New Year's Eve, FCS National Championship. They've been selling out in Frisco for the last 13 years outside of COVID at 20,000. We think we can increase that given the excitement and the destination of Nashville for the fans. Vanderbilt's renovated stadium fits it perfect with the club levels and the premium opportunities. The practice sites are there at Vanderbilt. Gaylord Hotel, we've got a great model from the Bulls of hosting both teams, with one team in the Magnolia Wing, one team in the Delta Wing. Which is a great experience for the players that time of year around holidays. So we just felt like we had all the components to chase that event and to grow that event, to be honest with you. The other thing is it moved to the primetime Monday night that the CFP National Championship game was. So it's primetime ESPN on the first Monday in January. We think that'll be a great opportunity to showcase the city and Vanderbilt and First Bank Stadium as well.
Scott, I want to go over to basketball for a second here. Obviously, the SEC, we talked about it 10, 15 minutes ago, how they just rolled over the ACC. So really, just like football, SEC fan bases are investing into basketball at a really high level. Talking about Tennessee, I know they've played at Bridgestone Arena in the past. And it makes me think of the CM Newton Classic in Birmingham. And an event like that, that's before conference play, if I'm not mistaken. Are there any potential ideas at Bridgestone? I know with the Preds being in season, it makes it tough, but with the basketball potential, whether it's Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Memphis, or even other SEC teams for a potential preseason type, I don't know what you call it, jamboree potentially.
I certainly can't speak for Sean and Michelle Kennedy over there, but I think the challenge is on the idea. The idea is great for Nashville. The challenge or the hurdle will be availability of dates in Bridgestone Arena. A lot of dates go to the CMA Award Show early in the year. They give us a whole 8 days for the SEC tournament. And when we did the long-term deal with Commissioner Sankey and the SEC to anchor in the men's tournament, which we've got anchored in through 2035, is what was kind of the handshake deal that, hey, to give up that week, we need to open up these last 2 or 3 weekends of the regular season with the NHL to get our team in the playoffs, and we can't kind of start tying up 2 and 3 weekends. I think that applies a little bit to the fall. What I'd like to do, Billy, and one of the things that we're looking long term on is certainly chasing the men's Final Four, and to do that with the new stadium, could we create an event early in the season at the stadium rather than at the arena? So that's a little ways off. I mean, that's an idea, and it's certainly something that's proven successful in some other cities, the Indianapolises of the world, and those kind of things. So I think that's on the horizon, but I think it'll be tough to kind of put something together in the arena and then come back for the tournament. I mean, you look at the tournament, you're adding Texas, Oklahoma. We're adding 5. We got 5 days coming up of just packed basketball. In March. It's going to be spectacular if you think about it. I mean, I'm not sure there's another city that can host a tournament as well as a campus kind of setting as we do in downtown Nashville for the SEC tournament. So we're looking forward to welcoming the Texas and Oklahoma fans to the city.
So, Billy, send him that clip when we get off the air. And, Scott, I want you to listen to that and think back to 1995 and say, did I really say that? I mean, is that not crazy?
Yeah, it is. I don't know what I said, but
it had to do with dome stadium and a dome stadium and basketball, and there was a time where we were like Sounds and Vandy basketball and nothing else.
Yeah, some AAU events, and we had anything and everything. I do look back on that, George, and I think our strategy is pretty sound. We did any event we could because we knew we had to kind of create a reputation about a new sports city with new venues, and it just got to be the point where you were leapfrogging events because you couldn't host an event, bid on it for next year. You had to wait till the bid cycle hit. And it was every 4 or 5 years, like the SEC tournament or the NCAA tournament would kind of hit. And now that we can kind of build on things annually, it's really kind of allowed us to be a little more strategic and also hopefully be a little efficient.
Scott, I don't know if you can answer this. We have somebody reaching out by way of podcast. Can you ask about the fairgrounds in Bristol? I don't know if there's anything you can say or not say, but I threw it out there.
No, I don't know. Can't respond to that one.
Okay. Well, I bet you'll be responding Sunday.
I will. Looking forward to it. It's hard to believe it's our 27th game.
God. All I remember is that first one. Billy, you weren't alive for the first one, but, we've got all these preparations at Vanderbilt Stadium. It's a new deal. And about, 30 minutes before the game, we had a nice sleet storm. Alabama, Virginia Tech. Boy, do I remember.
Yeah.
Frigid.
And boy, does he remember.
Not only that, George, but if you remember, the one bank of lights on Virginia Tech sideline wouldn't come on, and ESPN was about to go to some rerun of Australian rules football in place of our game.
That would not have worked. Scott, thank you for taking the time. I suspect sometime next week I'll ask you to come back on.
Sure.
Thanks for the visit and kind of explaining to everybody what the process really is.
Well, thanks for having me on, George. Always enjoy it. Have
Talk
a good day.
To you too. After the break, we'll kind of react a little bit to what he put out there. And I'll admit there's a piece of me going, dang, this is the same city as 1995, and we weren't talking this kind of stuff. This is 94.9, The Fan. This is my buddy Stan Harrison from Apple Collision Centers. Recently, you've been talking to me about companies that have a fleet of trucks, and they're always in need of repairs.
That's right, George. We understand that nobody likes to deal with the auto body repair process. We try to simplify that at our 3 convenient locations. We work with all major insurance companies. We help to ease the stress of the auto body repair process. We're located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. If you need our services, please stop by and see us.
And how convenient that we have that in the background. Now, seriously, these are good folks. They do really good work. Give them a holler.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com. Are you concerned about the Medicare Part D changes for 2025? Believe me, you're not alone. You need to contact Pancoast Benefits. They'll make the changes clear and easy to understand. Trust Pancoast to guide you through it all. Their knowledgeable team is here to help you understand the updates and make informed decisions about your Medicare coverage. Don't navigate these changes alone. Call Pancoast Benefits today at 615-292-3400 and choose option 3, or visit pancoastbenefits.com. That's 615-292-3400 and choose option 3.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. .com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Introducing the Game Nashville Sports Network. Here we go. 3 stations, 1 place.
Sign me up for more of this.
Live and local.
Robbie and Rex Road. Chasing Big Joe.
D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick.
Stillman and Company.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. ESPN Radio.
Pro football is growing. How is that possible?
What? On 94.9 The Fan. And VSiN. Dan Patrick.
Nashville.
Colin Cowherd.
Hi, Nashville. It's Colin.
And Doug Gottlieb.
They don't have much else.
On Sports Talk 830.
Ripping through some.
Your sports live here. On the Game Nashville Sports Network.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
In about 13 minutes, you will hear the interview that I did yesterday with Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell. A lot of it involves what is or isn't going to happen around Major League Baseball. Let me say this. Yeah, I'm probably more excited than most people because I'm a hardcore baseball fan. All of you who've ever listened to me know that. But friends of mine who have ties to MLB all tell me the same thing. And it's not that we're in the mix. It is that we are number 1 by a wide margin on MLB's list of who they'd like to see get these things.
Who are they competing with? Because I've gotten that question. Is it Salt Lake City?
Billy, I think here's really what's going to go on.
Because I've also heard a little bit on Raleigh, in, Charlotte area as well.
Yeah, I think first of all, what you've got are 2 different geographies. You've got what appears to be a franchise that'll go in out west, and I now believe Salt Lake City with Dale Murphy as the front man for a city that has long supported the Utah Jazz, now is trying to support this Utah hockey club. I think that's giving them a leg up because I think MLB is watching how do they handle this. Can they make 2 sports at the same time work? And from everything I can tell, they are. I think Salt Lake City's going to get the franchise out west. In the East, my gut feeling is it's down to Nashville and Charlotte. Okay. I never hear Montreal anymore. And look, I'm sorry for the people in Montreal that the Expos thing didn't work out. I didn't appreciate during our struggle to keep the Preds here the Canadian snottiness about how we don't deserve, a second chance. And as I told a Montreal radio station during that time, I said 2 words for you. Montreal Expos, shut up. You're in no position to take pot shots at Nashville, Tennessee. And, 15 years later, I feel even better about that than I did back then. You know, Billy, looking back now, I have a lot of fun about my friendship with the late Rick Regan. But the truth of it is, Rick Regan got me into the ground floor of a lot of this stuff. And our show was the show of record at that time for what was going on. I've had some fun with a story. The Sacramento Kings were kind of kicking the tires here. And at one point, I put a phone call into their owner, who denied all of it. And I said, look, cut the crap. I know you were here. I'll tell you the day you were here. You want me to get into some more specifics? You know, there was a lot of that going on. The Hartford Whalers at one point, that was the first rendezvous we ever had. Then it was the New Jersey Devils. And I would contend, had they not won the Stanley Cup, they were coming here. Mm-hmm. Instead, we ended up with the Predators, which I think was a better situation until about 3 weeks ago. And who knows what in the world's going on with them right now. But I feel really fortunate that I got to be in on the ground floor of all that fun. Under the things that I ought to be thankful for, it's that I got to see it, experience it, feel it. We did the first show in the new arena, the figure skating competition. And I remember walking in there that day. I'd been given a tour of the arena. Peter Heidenreich had given me a tour of the arena before then. But to walk in when it was complete and go, oh my God, this is Nashville, Tennessee. You know, this isn't Atlanta. This isn't New York. This is the city I grew up in. And it was really cool. And it's still cool to see our city make advances. And I'll probably spend a little more time than most of the shows. I doubt many of the other shows think about having the mayor on. But to me right now, that's vitally important to find out where he is. Where's his head in all of this?
Yeah, it's fun to think about the potential of a baseball team in Nashville, too. I mean, and all the opportunities for fans in the city, people that work in media. I mean, that's a whole nother layer of jobs created, too. And so I think for everybody, if you're a sports fan in Nashville and you're not getting excited about this and at least looking into it, now we don't want you to get ahead of yourself, but if you're not at least excited about this, even if you're not a diehard baseball fan, I mean, you've seen what baseball teams and franchises have been able to do for cities. Think about St. Louis. I mean, you know, Oakland for a while. That, you know, I know they're moving, right? But I mean, they held that city up. Oakland without the A's for a long time, you know, and the Raiders as well. But baseball teams can do a lot for cities, and that's what gets me excited. And I'm interested to see what people think about this interview, because the mayor, you know, there's not maybe a ton revealed, but you know, he doesn't beat around the bush a whole lot.
But it gives you some background,
right,
to think about. So here's what we're going to do. We'll go stat of the day after the break. Then you'll hear the mayor in the interview we did yesterday. And Billy's right. There won't be anything earth-shattering where he says, hey, the Cincinnati Reds are coming here. There's nothing like that. But it will give you an idea of what kind of thought process he has to have as this starts to progress. This is 94.9, The Fan.
Where can you see a saber-toothed tiger rappel from the rafters? How about a catfish fly? The biggest stars in Music City. Not to mention hockey's hottest ticket. The Predators win! Only in Smashville. See your Nashville Predators all season long at Bridgestone Arena. Single game tickets are on sale now at NashvillePredators.com. Let's go, Preds!
Star Physical Therapy was established in 1997 with one great mission: to serve. If you're hurting, don't wait to receive physical therapy. You don't need a referral to see their physical therapist, and early morning and evening appointments are available. Make the call to 615 888-673-1420 and get rid of that pain. Star Physical Therapy, the official health provider of Football Friday.
Convenience and value, 2 words that we expect when we do business. Our goal at JHA Company is to deliver just that, both to our school partners and to our customers. Whether you're purchasing photos, yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
Sports bar. Let's party like it's 1933. In celebration of Prohibition Repeal Day, Twin Peaks is offering 1930s inspired cocktails for a steal in store from December 1st through 5th. Enjoy one with us at the Cool Springs or Madison Twin Peaks locations.
Shop Christmas deals at Electronic Express now. Grab the hottest gifts at unbeatable prices. Get a PS5 disc console with Fortnite bundle just $424. LG 75-inch 4K TV only $499. Bose wireless headphones just $179. CyberPower PC gaming computer only $699. Samsung top-load washer and dryer just $599 each. Roku 50-inch 4K TV only $199. Get up to 24 months free financing. Visit any Electronic Express location or electronicexpress.com.
Evan, Canty, and Michelle are unsportsmanlike.
Any mayo-based salad is disgusting. There's only one chicken salad on earth that I will eat. Most of them are too mayo-based. Egg salad is the grossest thing you could ever show me. That is so gross. If you're like, you know what I'm craving? An egg salad sandwich? Sickening.
Tuna and egg, gross.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Unsportsmanlike. Evan, Canty, and Michelle are unsportsmanlike.
There was such an incredible stretch of rom-coms. Where is the How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days of the world? Where's the She's All That? It feels like everything now is just a remake of something else, and it's done poorly.
Well, they did remake She's All That.
I know.
With Addison Rae.
I didn't watch it. We didn't need that.
Unsportsmanlike. Weekday mornings starting at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN2. This is Freddie and Harry.
So where are you? Oh, people think that you do.
So my daughter has caught on to this that I do. Mm-hmm. I can literally be laying in my room.
Yeah.
And the remote control could be sitting right here in my room on the ironing board. Uh-huh. And I will call my daughter all the way from upstairs just to hand me that remote control.
Really?
And she'll come down and says, Daddy, you better not be asking me to get you nothing that's already in the room. And I'm like, girl, be quiet and hand me that remote control off the ironing board.
This is Freddie and Harry.
And I know the Miami Hurricane fans, you know, they're on my mama's side. They're going to be mad. Boy, we coming to get you when we come up there to the family reunion. Right. Bring it on. That's what I'm going to tell the family. Bring it on. I was bad as hell as a kid. Don't bring it back out as a grown man. I'm ready for you. But when you look at the two resumes, right? I terrorized the family reunions back in the day. I have no problem doing it as a grown-up.
Check out more from Freddie and Harry weekdays at 3 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9. The Fan.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
We're talking with Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell coming up here on the George Plaster Show. But first, Apple Collision Centers presents Stat of the Day. They got 3 locations, one at Old Hickory, one out in Hendersonville, and one in Gallatin. Give them a call, 615-754-9800, or log on to applecollisioncenters.com. All right, we're going with some more college hoops today.
Uh-oh.
Creighton beat number 1 Kansas at home last night. Who was the last number 1 team that Creighton knocked off at home?
They've had a history of it.
Yep.
In that building. And I wish I could just rattle off right off the bat who it would be. I'm just trying to think of teams in the Midwest. Missouri, I don't know if they ever reached number 1. I don't think Memphis would have ever played Creighton that I can think of. So I am going to go. Who am I going to go? This is not great radio.
No.
Help me with some of the teams in the Big 8, Big 12 now. Texas Tech.
Not Texas.
No, probably not. Let's go Oklahoma. What the heck?
Oklahoma?
Yeah, let's go Oklahoma.
All right. It's UConn.
UConn. Wow. We could have been here a while. I wouldn't have gotten that.
These have been pretty tough recently.
Yeah.
Ty's ramping it up a little bit.
So we now are officially into the 4 o'clock hour. We welcome all of you into the Fordyce Center in Bellevue. We will go to the phones around 4:20, give or take a minute, and I'm going to want a lot of red-blooded Americans who love sports to give me some feedback to what you're about to hear. First thing, I want to thank the mayor's press secretary, Alex Apple, for setting this up. This has been several weeks in the planning stages, and I think most of you know the mayor has a lot more important things to do than yap with an idiot like me. However, yesterday he sat down with me, and here is that interview. Mayor, first of all, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I'm going to shock you. You know me as a sports talk show host, but I also love this city, and I want to give you the opportunity to talk about your transit plan that passed at the election. What can people expect from this?
Yeah, well, first of all, it was a great moment for the city, I think, to be able to come together so decisively around an issue that I think demonstrates community preference, community hopes, community aspiration to have so many Nashvillians come together at one moment and say, yes, a common sense transportation and infrastructure plan is something we are willing and even eager to fund and make sure we implement. And so we expect the next steps. In the near term, we've got a few things to do. We've got to hire somebody to kind of coordinate the entire program. It is going to be a cross-departmental and frankly, multi-stakeholder effort because it will touch so many different parts of the city and have us operating at a scale and pace that we just don't have the built-in history of doing that. And so we're going to hire a key role there. We have a procurement process because we are going to need some subject matter expertise from the private sector as we gear up. So there will be definitely a public-private partnership component of this that's underway. We're looking at early financing considerations. But ultimately, what we want by this time next year is for people to get some sense that we're making progress on all 4 of the key principal components of the plan. We want there to be the first sidewalks under construction. We want there to be some of the first signs of modernized traffic signals connected to our traffic management center. We want to see service improvements from WeGo Public Transit, our local transit authority, that are larger than would have been the case under the status quo in terms of year-over-year funding. And then we want that entire system taken together to be safer. We're working on the administrative startup. We started that on day 1 after the election, and we look forward to being able to deliver the very first projects in calendar year 2025.
Awesome. It was a year ago, right about now, that the baseball winter meetings were here. I thought it was an underreported story that you met with Chicago White Sox owner Jerry Reinsdorf. For me, I've known him as one of the most powerful owners in that sport. What was that meeting like?
Well, it was really interesting because it wasn't, I don't think we came to the table with any specific agenda. He didn't really come to the table with a specific agenda. And George, to your point, maybe what I noticed was that a lot of Chicago area media were very, very keenly interested in that. We got a couple of inquiries from Chicago, and then I saw it reported for weeks in Chicago area press. But I think to your point, locally, it may not have been as much of a story. It was very interesting because just a few weeks after that, it seemed like Jerry was back in Chicago, continuing to negotiate on the ground there. I think it was, probably a little bit of him just kind of gently kicking the tires on sort of what our sports market appetite was for MLB, and just to kind of come to something that you brought up before we even started recording, the understanding where the Titan Stadium project was, and financing terms and all those kinds of things. So I would characterize it this way. It was mostly a get to know you conversation, and honestly not a lot more than that.
I know it won't surprise you. The baseball fan in me, which I'm a huge baseball fan, is watching what's going on.
I might have encountered you at a baseball game before, George.
You might have. It might have been in July of this year. The situation in Tampa appears to have fallen apart. There's a lot of volatility. There seems to be a lot of mistrust between the county commission and the Tampa Bay Rays. And so I'm just going to ask it. Has anybody from Tampa, the Rays, MLB contacted you? Because it's an easy rumor to say if they leave, Nashville's number one on that list.
Yeah, I'll put it this way. No one has reached out to me personally, and I am unaware that anybody has reached out to anybody on our team. In a lot of these conversations, one or sometimes both of Bob Mendez, our chief development officer, who's kind of managing the East Bank portfolio, and has sort of our entire public side land development initiative in his, that's kind of his portfolio overall. And then Jamari Brown, who's our director of economic and community development, who stays in close contact with things. I mean, they've been kind of capturing all the knowledge of sports. Now, I'll say it this way. Maybe somebody sent an email to one of those guys that I just haven't heard about yet. But no, I mean, for my part, we have not had any meaningful contact with anybody from representing the Tampa Bay Rays.
Let me go down the road of what look like the two groups that are, I don't know if vying is the right word, but the two groups that I know of that to me have some meat on the bone. Dave Stewart and former Governor Bill Haslam. Have you met with either one of them to talk about what this might look like down the road?
We have, Dave has, I guess, been, my understanding is he's sort of both, at one time, I believe he was associated with the kind of STARS effort that you, I'm sure, are familiar with.
Right.
I think now he may be pursuing some other independent things. I had a conversation with Dave now months ago, probably almost a year ago. In fact, it was after the winter meetings, but it was pretty exploratory, because I think Dave, just in some ways, I think, like Governor Haslam, is just sort of interested in, professional sports in Nashville. So we covered a lot of ground, because you're probably also aware there is a considerable interest right now in women's sports, and specifically with women's soccer and women's basketball. And so frankly, in both scenarios, we have had abstract conversations about an interest there. But, Governor Haslam is very deeply involved, as you probably also are aware, with the Predators right now. And that's kind of been his focus, is on, sort of the Preds as a team, Bridgestone as a facility. More extensive conversations about. Dave, expressed an interest in baseball, but I wouldn't say it. I wouldn't characterize these conversations as much more than informal and exploratory.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think I remember when you were running, it was something to the effect of, look, if this baseball thing's ever going to happen, people need to understand that after we finish with the Titans and the Dome Stadium, we're kind of tapped out of the sports money market. We don't print it on a printing press. Is that kind of still where we are as we look to the future of wherever this MLB thing goes?
Right. I think I'll say as Bob Mendez, our chief development officer, has worked on the stadium footprint of public land around the new Titan Stadium that is under construction, as we look down our list of the portfolio of land that he is managing with his team, and as we evaluate the overall infrastructure costs of the city as we continue to grow, it is very, very difficult to imagine that there is a near-term future where we would be considering any kind of public financing for a public entertainment facility whose primary usage would be sports. And so I kind of think of it in those two ways, especially for Major League Baseball, because that's going to be, of the conversations we've had of MLB, of women's basketball and WNBA, of women's soccer and the NWSL, MLB would have the highest overall cost and probably largest overall land needs. And so take that and couple it with the need for a credible ownership group. And, right now today, I would not say that the ingredients are there for that.
You can tell I'm on a little bit of a fishing expedition without a rod, and reel. Have you ever talked to the commissioner, Rob Manfred, about Nashville?
Yes. Winter meetings gave a brief opportunity, but that was, again, just kind of a handshake, nice to meet you, glad you're in Nashville kind of conversation.
So nothing good. My fishing is getting me nowhere on that.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say nothing good, but I mean, I'll just say it. I mean, I would say across all of those sports scenarios in question, there is a lot of interest in Nashville. There is a sense that we have a very robust sports fan base here. We have demonstrated across having an NFL team, an MLS team, an NHL team, and a AAA baseball team, that all four of those sports can comfortably coexist and not honestly cannibalize each other's fan bases. I mean, I've had conversations. I mean, ultimately, our sports franchises seem to have a successful collaborative effort where they wind up supporting one another when they have major events from their respective leagues come to Nashville. And that's another thing we've seen a lot of. There is a lot of interest in the various leagues hosting kind of special league specific events in Nashville. And that, I think, as we watch the Titan Stadium start to come out of the ground, there is a lot of interest in the idea of a Super Bowl occurring in Nashville someday. So I think the interest level is high from MLB as a league, but again, the league is not going to be the driving force behind an ownership group. They're going to wait for an ownership group to arrive at the table for serious consideration.
What would the city be willing to do to help if MLB is as interested as I think they are, knowing as a Davidson County taxpayer what stuff you face?
Yeah, I think the first thing we're willing to do is have a conversation with the first credible ownership group that materializes. I mean, the best case scenario is somebody comes along and says, "Hey, we've got a proposition where we are willing to buy land and fully privately finance a stadium." I mean, that's a when can we start kind of conversations. So
Merry
I think
Christmas
that's
and
where.
Happy New Year.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
and I will say there have been we have observed other cities that have had close to that kind of good fortune. Um, I think we would evaluate things in terms of the priority of other things that are in the queue. Right now, we know we already have a legal and financial obligation to support the effort to get the Titan Stadium underway. We know we have terms in place already for the other 3 sports facilities that we've got. And so we would kind of have to evaluate sequence, scale, and request for where we started in. But I mean, I think we're kind of like the 3 leagues where we stand by ready to talk to any ownership group that materializes that could complete a franchise scenario.
I have been a huge supporter, as you can imagine. Anytime anything sports-wise is coming, I want to be a huge supporter of the Dome Stadium. I am, I'll admit, furious at some of the ticket prices that the Titans are trying to pawn off on the general public.
I might have heard from a couple of irate PSL holders.
I don't doubt you have. But give me some good news. Is the stadium construction, the dome, on time? How does it look right now? Because it's hard to tell when you drive around there because they can't let anybody really see much of it.
No, from our standpoint, as the East Bank team that's been active on our side engages with the Titans as an organization, and kind of having Turner as a construction manager for really both sides of this, the overall stadium footprint, East Bank project, and the stadium itself. Our sense is that they are on time. They are, trying to be ready to start that 2027 season. And so, from everything we can tell, from what they are able to represent to us, they are the pace car for everything that's happening over there, and they're making it around the track on their appropriate calendar right now.
Mayor, I don't dare ask you where this interview ranked on the importance of your day, so I'll just leave it. I'll leave it by saying thank you for taking the time. Happy holidays. You got the floor. Go ahead.
Thanks, George. No, I mean, it's interesting because, as you travel the city, and, we continue to generate exciting moments for sports fans. Vanderbilt's success against Alabama that they have been unable to reproduce against some other key teams in the SEC and beyond. But that historic moment was a big deal. I think, you're starting to sense, I think some performance questions from fans of both Nashville SC and the Titans. And it's interesting because I actually really enjoy following this stuff. We have a lot of good chatter around the office. I'm friends with a lot of people in various fantasy sports leagues, and I think it's a good thing overall for the city to have some of those places of a little bit of competitive rivalry, as we see fans of other teams outside this market sometimes show up in the city, and even within our office, we've got a couple of locals who might be fans of teams besides the Titans, and that is always good for staff meeting rivalries. So for my part, I enjoy thinking about the business of sports and being a sports fan myself and getting the occasion to throughout the year get to almost all of our leagues and sometimes even get into some of our local colleges and universities and high schools and just see where the athletic talent is and the coaching talent is and all of those kinds of things. And then at the end of the day, you want to try to be in a position to have the best overall circumstance for taxpayers in terms of what the city is delivering. And so, to me, kind of coming back home, we knew last term we had made a considerable investment in the Titans, and I think you can see the eagerness of the Nashville public to also get a considerable investment in something that's going to work for the whole city, and that is transit. And so we're trying to move the city forward in a way that very much ensures a public investment strategy that is pro-resident.
Thank you for doing this. Happy holidays to you and your family. I'll see you at a ballpark sometime soon.
Thanks so much, George. Good to talk to you today.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me say this. This will probably not be the last time that I make the request to talk to him, because I think conditions are going to warrant that we need to kind of know where he stands in all of this. I've been fortunate through the last 25, 30 years or so. I had a good relationship at the time with Mayor Bredesen, who I thought was a brilliant mayor. Loved working with Carl Dean. Had zero relationship with John Cooper, but, I'd take a number. Nobody seemed to. I appreciate his willingness to do this. I think it's important to get some information out to you all, because sports is an important part of what is driving our city, period.
Well, and you could tell he has an emphasis on sports and knows that it plays a big role in the city. You heard him talk about the Vanderbilt win, and he wasn't shy. He didn't, to talk about the conversation he's had with Dave Stewart, and of course the governor as well. But it's going to get interesting here in the next, I don't know, what do you say, 2-3 years? I mean, this could be, it's going to be a slow process. I think we know it's going to happen, but when is likely the question. I mean, is what it feels like right now.
From what I can tell, the White Sox thing is a dead issue. I don't think the owners were going to allow the White Sox out of the city. And I can understand that, because it's one of the great big cities in our country. That was always going to be a tough battle. Okay, we're going to go to the break, and here's what I want. Number one, if you want to comment on what you heard in the interview, feel free to. I'd love to get some reaction from you. You can do it one of two ways, 615-553-0933. Again, 615-553-0933. I'm looking for red-blooded Americans who want to talk some sports. If that's not what you want to talk about, feel free to bring other things to the table. We'll call it open phones. But if you want to comment on it, I'd love to hear from you. What other ways can they
the chat room.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, on YouTube.
Why did I have so much trouble with that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
You can. I'll let you handle the phones and the phone number.
Yeah.
The chat room,
telephonic,
though, is it's to the right of the screen if you're watching on YouTube, on a laptop, also on your phone. You can swipe up on Twitter and Facebook, however you're watching. Pretty easy to type in a comment or question. I'll see them, get them over to George, and we'd love to hear from you.
Okay, we'll go to the break. This is 94.9 The Fan.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, "You need to call Bart Durham." And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun. Here's Officer Garen Hoskins for the Metro Nashville Police Department.
The Metro Nashville Police Department is on the forefront of policing in this century, and I'm glad I'm a part of it. I'm glad I get to find other good officers, other future good officers. And if you're watching today, or you yourself or someone you happen to know is interested, join MNPD.com. Feel free to reach out to us because we need good officers, and it's a great city to work for.
Are you concerned about the Medicare Part D changes for 2025? Believe me, you're not alone. You need to contact Pancoast Benefits. They'll make the changes clear and easy to understand. Trust Pancoast to guide you through it all. Their knowledgeable team is here to help you understand the updates and make informed decisions about your Medicare coverage. Don't navigate these changes alone. Call Pancoast Benefits today at 615-292-3400 and choose option 3, or visit pancoastbenefits.com. That's 615-292-3400 and choose option 3.
Convenience and value, 2 words that we expect when we do business. Our goal at JHA Company is to deliver just that, both to our school partners and to our customers. Whether you're purchasing photos, yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
Home of the 4th annual Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night.
It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
We are back. We'll go to the phones here in just a second. Billy, I was very impressed with this. Somebody reached out to me on X and said, I've been very happy with the collaborative spirit between the different professional teams in Nashville. I think that has been one of the keys to our city's sports success. I can't sit here and tell you I know what every sports executive from every team's spirit of cooperation has been. But I'll tell you, that's one of the things that I have really appreciated about Sean Henry with the Preds. In particular, when the soccer team came to town, there was a collaborative spirit between those two franchises that I don't see very often in other cities. This is a well put together statement by this particular listener.
It's also the colleges. I think Tennessee's baseball team, they were on the field before the Titans home opener this year, did the sword stuff, whatever they do before the game. And then Vanderbilt, Pavia and C.J. Taylor, I think, was that the Preds home opener?
I think you're right, because I think, wasn't it right after the Alabama win?
Right after the Alabama win, and you knew they were probably going to do something. So, I mean, those are things that might seem easy to do, but that person's right, whoever said that. The Titans and the Preds specifically, the Preds have always done a really good job at that.
Okay, let's take a phone call to start it, and then we'll see what you've got on the chat line. By the way, I've got room for a couple more of you. I want a new caller, somebody who maybe is new to the show, who's just gotten in, to call us. 615-553-0933. Eric, line 1, welcome.
George, I'll be honest, I'm definitely excited about the prospect of Major League Baseball coming to Nashville. I never thought to see that in my lifetime, and who knows, maybe I will, and not depending on how long this is going to take. And I know beggars can't be choosers, because I'm excited if it is Tampa Bay, but of course I think, as I've heard mentioned before, would love to see if it was a National League team, because of course I know I'm a fan of the Reds, you're a fan of the Braves, and people are fans of the Cardinals and the Cubs. But, you at this point, you'll take what you can get. I was kind of in and out of the room, so I haven't heard anything. You may have discussed some of this stuff already. What is kind of the timetable for this? Who else is in kind of the running for this? I guess the leaders in the clubhouse, and I'm assuming that the people that are like Vita Blue and the other people at the group buying baseball are just behind all this. Just your thoughts on that and everything, and how quickly I'm assuming that we have to move on this, or just the timetable. I'll get off the list. George, it's always good to talk to you. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon.
Sure, thank you. Good question. First of all, the conventional wisdom, Billy, is somewhere in the 2029 range.
Yeah, 2029, 30 is
yeah.
That's what it seems.
Now, if you really want to get radical, and I want to get radical,
hyperspeed.
I believe the stuff's about to hit the fan in Tampa. I don't think these two groups, the city, the county commission, and the Rays, I think have come to hate each other. And that tells me they're not going to get it done. And so the Rays are going to play this 1 year in the Yankees minor league stadium. If you really want to get radical about it, do I think there's a scenario where the Rays could be here in 2026 in a slightly expanded First Horizon Park up to 18, maybe 20,000? Yeah. If you want to dream, why the hell not?
A man could dream.
A man can dream. Do I think it's an impossible dream? No, because I think the vitriol, whatever that means, between the county commission and the city of Tampa has gotten out of control. And in the West, I believe Salt Lake City is the leader in the clubhouse right now, led by Dale Murphy, who is sort of their front man. I believe Nashville is the leader in the clubhouse on the East Coast. And who knows what's going to happen with Tampa, but it could be Tampa. I now think Tampa is a real possibility. Expansion would be great. I think you just take the first thing that becomes available.
Stormy on YouTube. I've been a baseball fan since 1960, and to get a franchise would be ideal. Nashville and Middle Tennessee is ready.
You'll never hear me say, Billy, that we're not ready, because we have surpassed so many things that I never saw coming in my lifetime. I just didn't.
Yeah.
And so you will never hear me say we can't handle this. Now, is it hard? Sure it is. It's 80 home games, 81, and that's double, for instance, what a hockey season has.
Yeah.
Do we have enough corporate dollars and all that stuff? Look, I'm not an economist, but I live here and I see the growth, and why not?
Why not?
Why not? Jared, you are up next. Welcome.
Thank you for taking my call. I appreciate it.
Are you a new caller?
I am a new caller.
Well, thank you. Listen, do me a favor. Make sure that 10,000 of your closest friends know we're out there.
Will do. Absolutely.
Thank you.
I grew up going to the Sounds games at Greer. I'm 40 years old. I'd be really excited to have Major League Baseball come here. But I remember when the Expos moved to D.C., the Orioles ownership sued to block it. would Atlanta allow us? Would they take us to court over an expansion team?
Well, let me say this. The Braves are the most likely team to put up a squawk on either Nashville or Charlotte. I'm told by a really good source, if you knew who it was, you'd go, dadgum, you've talked to him? This person has told me that Rob Manfred has told him, I am not going to let the Braves dictate this. And, you want to talk about what would turn me off quicker than anything is watching a team that I have supported for 50 years try to stop my city from getting a team. Nothing would piss me off more.
I agree with that. I grew up, little kid in the 90s watching the Braves disappoint me in the playoffs. But I've watched them forever, and that would really make me mad if they kept my city from getting a team.
It would be a lot easier for the emotions if we got an American League team and I could root for both of them, because, it's hard to turn off the faucet of 50 years.
Well, and that could be a
potential. And the scary thing is it's more than 50.
That could be a potential rivalry whenever Nashville gets a team,
God.
Nashville and Atlanta.
Yeah.
But you're going to have some Nashville natives having to make a decision. If the Braves are playing this new Nashville team, who am I cheering for?
Our city comes first.
I'd be with you on that.
Yeah. Jared, anything else?
Hey, I appreciated Freddie O'Connell saying it would be mostly private funded. I mean, he's right. I don't know if we have the money for more stadiums.
I think that both groups, thank you, the Dave Stewart group and the former Governor Haslam group are well aware of what he is saying. And you'll notice that I don't put MLB Nashville and the John Lore group in here. I've said this repeatedly. They are the emperor with no clothes, and in the end, they're not going to have a damn thing to do with any of this. They go to all the civic clubs and act like they're in charge. The truth of it is they're not going to have squat to do with any of this. You got one more, Billy?
I do. We've got one from Calvin here on YouTube. If Nashville did get an MLB team, does Major League Baseball balance the AL and National League and add a 32nd team somewhere else?
I do think he's on to something of
you'd have to.
How they try to balance this, because what they're trying to do is say, okay, Vegas got what was likely going to be the expansion franchise. The mayor in Oakland, she's delusional in believing that MLB is going back there. They're not. So Salt Lake City seems to me right now to be number one out west. On our end, tell me what Tampa's going to do. Because, to be honest, they haven't been very lucky. Okay, they had a hurricane basically blow the roof off their place. Now, their place was a dump. It's always been a dump.
Mm-hmm.
But it's unfortunate that as they were about to strike gold on something else, that this happened. And what it has done, it has fueled past stuff between these two groups, the county commission and the Rays. And it's clear to me they don't like each other. And the longer that you see this pissing contest going on, the more likely it is that they know how to get on a nonstop flight from Tampa to Nashville. It's not that hard.
Yeah, there's no way they spend more than a year at that Yankees facility.
That's what I think.
And
here's the other one, Billy. Do the Rays know about Nashville? Of course they do, because several years ago they hired the Predators' top dog, equal top dog to Sean Henry and Jeff Cogan, as their number two. You don't think at some point he didn't tell them, hey, it's a pretty good city?
Yeah. No, you got to believe there's people in Tampa eyeing down Nashville, especially if this, all that rain that this season for them at that facility. You're right.
They're not going to want more than 1 year.
Right, because that could happen. I mean, this could be a disaster. I mean, it already is a disaster, but this could get worse for Tampa, believe it or not.
When they get rain every day, ruining their attendance, they're not going to want to play another year there.
No, when we had Paul Kennedy on, he was talking about how the single A players, low A ball guys in Florida, they play in the summer, in the heat of summer. There's not a major league team that plays in the heat of summer like that in Florida, outdoors like that. Now, you get later into the, closer to the fall, you could play, right? You'd be fine, but
the Marlins play in a dome. Now it's a mausoleum.
So, I mean, you're forcing Major League Baseball players to play under high A ball conditions in the heat of summer. That doesn't seem real welcoming.
And don't be shocked when the Players Union starts putting pressure on Major League Baseball to end this quicker rather than later.
And I wonder about all the Nashville natives, there's a lot of MLB players that live in Nashville too, and how much with the Players Union, if that helps at all.
Good point.
Yeah.
Okay, after the break, Clay in Nashville, hang with us. George up in Boston, hang with us. Here's our number, 615-553-0933. Jump in. We'll talk more on 94.9 The Fan.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com. Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
At wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC.
Introducing the Game Nashville Sports Network. Here we go. 3 stations, 1 place.
Sign me up for more of this.
Live and local.
Robbie and Rex Road.
Chasing Big Joe.
D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick. Stillman and Company.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. ESPN Radio.
Pro football is growing. How is that possible?
What? On 94.9 The Fan. And VSiN. Dan Patrick.
Nashville.
Colin Cowherd.
Hi, Nashville. It's Colin.
And Doug Gottlieb.
They don't have much else.
On Sports Talk 830.
Ripping through some.
Your sports live here. On the Game Nashville Sports Network.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Okay, we're back, and I think we're going to have time not only for the caller we're going to take, but if there are others out there that want to get in on the line. I'm trying to read all this mess. 615-553-0933. Jump in for whatever you might want to jump in about. George up in Boston, welcome.
Hey, what's up, guys? How's it going?
We're good.
What's up,
Hope
George?
you're good.
Yeah, I'm doing well. I've got a little retort to something that Mr. Basilio said during his scheduled call-in on Tuesday about Vanderbilt's fan base.
Okay.
So during his call, and his call the week before, he was basically implying that Vanderbilt doesn't have a legit fan base. And I will say this to Mr. Basilio. We may be small, but we are mighty. It is very easy to be a Tennessee fan, especially right now. It is very easy to be an Alabama fan or a Georgia fan. These Vanderbilt season ticket holders who go to every game, while they might not be large in number, those people have more grit and more loyalty than just about any SEC fan base out there.
You know, it's funny. You put it a different way. A guy called me years ago, and it was a Tennessee fan talking about Vandy, and, you know, all that kind of stuff goes back and forth. And I said, let me put it to you this way. I said, if Tennessee had a scenario where 45 of their last 50 years in football had been losing, do you think Neyland Stadium would hold 100,000? And, you know, it was a different spin on what you're getting to. So, okay, you've brought it up, and I've been bringing it up. I don't know where the judge is going with this decision. But if by some chance two things happen, he says, Diego, you're free to play some more. And Diego says, I'm a Commodore for life, CFL. Then, if the fan base isn't any bigger a year from now, you need to start looking at an athletic department and saying, what are you doing? This is your best shot to start building up a fan base. And at that point,
sorry, Joe.
Well, at that point, I mean, under the scenarios, because Clark has yapped about this some, but the truth of it is, for a long time, this has been a case of an athletic department that didn't want to work that hard. David Williams didn't give a rat's you-know-what about marketing and promotions, and to be honest, had a really stupid mindset when it came to marketing and promotions. He didn't believe in it. Well, how'd that work out? And I do think Candace, I think Candace is a lot more open-minded, but the point is, when can you get to a point where you can say to a potential fan base, hey, we've shown you something, and it's only going to be better a year from now. And to me, that scenario is if the judge says to Pavia, you can play, and Pavia says, I'm a CFL, I'm a Commodore for life.
For sure. George, I would say to that an idea that I had. So I'm pretty involved and plugged in with the Boston and Vanderbilt alumni chapter as an alum. I think besides homecoming weekend, Vanderbilt's big hub cities nationally should have a takeover, quote unquote, where a bunch of the fans who are alumni in that specific city come down to Nashville, and help reclaim home field advantage for their team.
That's a good idea.
One of Vanderbilt's problems is that most of their alumni live out of state compared to some of the other schools.
Well, no, the bigger problem is they don't accept anybody from Dixon, Tennessee, or Jackson, Tennessee. The school has acted and been very snotty about it, that, if you're not from Guam or Haiti, we don't want you. So George, some of this is on the school. You want a fan base? Let some kids in from here.
Oh, for sure. I don't disagree with you, George. I would say if all else fails, have Mark Cuban buy all the damn tickets, and then he can just sell them to Vandy fans.
So let me ask you this, because I have no idea about this. When you bring up Boston, how many Vandy alums are up there?
Oh, about 3,000.
Wow.
Really? Are there really?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
No
there's a
kidding.
ton of us.
That's incredible. I didn't know it was that many.
Know that. Is that an active group?
Yeah, we're getting it more active. I mean, I manage the social media page for the Vanderbilt Boston account, and I've been doing it since last year, and our engagement has increased dramatically within the last year.
That's awesome. So tell those 3,000 to start listening to the show. And
I will. I'll pass it along. And George and Billy, I'll be at the bowl game so long as it's not on Christmas or right after Christmas Day on the 26th. But hope to see you guys there and anchor down.
Hey, thank you for the call. My guess is, especially off of what Scott Ramsey said earlier today, and I don't know if he got to hear the interview, but I would think Birmingham, Memphis have felt like the two most likely all along.
Well, Brett McMurphy in his latest projection has them in the Gasparilla Bowl on December 20th. That first Saturday, that's the Saturday with those playoff games, actually.
Yeah, and that's
not
a recipe for disaster.
Right. That would probably be a noon, 1 o'clock kick.
First of all, a bunch of us don't know what the hell a Gasparilla is.
I have no. It's a festival. I think it's a festival in Tampa that they have every year. I want to say
they're going to play it at Tropicana.
But yeah, the Gasparilla Bowl is at 3:30. It's actually Friday, December 20th. My bad. Friday, December 20th.
So they play it before.
Yeah.
The nighttime college football playoff
might not
game.
be as bad of a slot as he originally thought.
I think if you're getting in a bowl before Christmas, that's not as good. That's not
tier.
what you're looking for.
But
okay.
Liberty in Birmingham.
What's he
Birmingham is on Friday, December 27th. Liberty is also Friday, December 27th. So
okay, you got one more.
Yes, Sam on YouTube. If Nashville gets a Major League Baseball team, have they considered adding on to First Horizon Park? It would save costs otherwise needed for a new stadium, and it's already an area that's been developed around the ballpark.
Here is an easy second guess, and I'm not going there because I think Mayor Dean did an unbelievable job to get the Sounds a Class
Top
A
notch.
kind of. I mean, not Class A as in like single A minor league ballpark, an absolute palace.
Yeah.
For minor league baseball.
And we got some hot cocoa.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks,
God
Bobby.
knows you go outside, you need this stuff.
Oh yeah, it's freezing out there.
Yeah, there it is. I'm told that it's been built in a way where it can't get a big expansion. There was, for instance, the Texas Rangers started out at Old Arlington Stadium, which was a minor league ballpark that got expanded. My gut feeling is you could do a certain little bit of expansion, get it to somewhere like 16 to 20.
You've got
but I
the
don't
press
think any
box
more than
already
that.
built
Yeah.
in there, so you'd have to do a lot of destruction and reconstruction to renovate that. But that'd be, how cool would that be? I mean,
Be very cool.
to look at, obviously it would take a lot, but to look at a new and improved First Horizon Park for a baseball team in Nashville,
Problem is, I don't think it can happen.
you're probably right.
I think from a an engineering, structural, whatever. Anyway, I know we need to go to the break. Thank you to the calls. Thank you to Sam, who, by the way, is the son of the late, great Nick Hunter.
Really?
A chip off the old block.
How about that?
Yeah. I'm
Stick.
guessing he may be in town for the holidays.
Yeah.
Don't know.
By
Either
the way,
way,
Skip Nipper's baseball podcast, he said, great question to one of the questions you asked about to the mayor.
Skip Nipper is a good man. He is as foremost an authority on baseball history in this city as there is, period. We go to the break. Plaster Bet of the Day, which is on a one-game winning streak, is coming up next.
Where can you see a saber-toothed tiger rappel from the rafters? How about a catfish fly? The biggest stars in Music City. Not to mention hockey's hottest ticket. The Predators win! Only in Smashville. See your Nashville Predators all season long at Bridgestone Arena. Single game tickets are on sale now at NashvillePredators.com. Let's go, Preds!
This is my buddy Stan Harrison from Apple Collision Centers. Recently, you've been talking to me about companies that have a fleet of trucks and they're always in need of repairs.
That's right, George. We understand that nobody likes to deal with the auto body repair process. We try to simplify that at our 3 convenient locations. We work with all major insurance companies. We help to ease the stress of the auto body repair process. We're located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. If you need our services, please stop by and see us.
And how convenient that we have that in the background. Now, seriously, these are good folks. They do really good work. Give them a holler. Star Physical Therapy was established in 1997 with one great mission: to serve. If you're hurting, don't wait to receive physical therapy. You don't need a referral to see their physical therapist, and early morning and evening appointments are available. Make the call to 615-673-1420 and get rid of that pain. Star Physical Therapy, the official health provider of Football Friday.
Think Dan Campbell's a soup guy?
No.
No?
No. He's a meat and potatoes guy. No question.
No, he looks like a beef barley type guy.
Maybe a stew.
Matzo ball?
A stew.
Dan Campbell and I just matzo ball soup on a Friday night. What do you think?
Unsportsmanlike. Weekday mornings starting at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN2.
Experience the thrill of gaming glory at Harrah's Metropolis Casino and Hotel, just a little over 2 hours northwest of Nashville off I-24. Call 1-800-HARRAHS and reserve your room today. Indulge in appetizing dining experiences along with the hottest slots and table gaming. As a Caesars Rewards destination, every moment you spend at Harrah's Metropolis earns you points across the entire Caesars empire. It's your time to win at Harrah's Metropolis. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Know when to stop before you start. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Well, we've got some breaking news. Speaking of the Tampa Bay Rays, the St. Pete City Council earlier today approved bonds that would account for the city's part of funding a new stadium for the Tampa Bay Rays.
After weeks of stalled momentum to move forward with the deal already approved in July, the council's decision puts the onus on the Pinellas County Board of County Commissioners, who will vote to approve funding on December 17th. It's put up or shut up time in Tampa.
It's getting real.
Yes, it is.
It's getting real down in Chattanooga. We've got McCallie and Baylor coming up here in about an hour. You can watch that on MyTV 30. We've got a second final of the day. Nashville Christian and Jeff Brothers. They've won their second Blue Cross Bowl state title and their first since 2015. All over Columbia Academy, 49-21. Jared Curtis, 6 touchdown passes.
He's a little stud. He's not little. He's a big boy.
Big kid.
Hey,
Anyway.
let me real quickly congratulate CPA on their state title win over BGA today, 38-26. Proud of my guys, but also proud of a good friend in Ingle Martin, who has done a wonderful job at a really good school.
Plaster bet of the day. Take a look at what happened last night. Vanderbilt won and covered the -6 at Virginia Tech. It's a good win. Now, it might be quad 4, but either way, it's a road ACC win. So Vandy gets it done. Where are you going tonight?
I'm going to surprise you. I have been big on the Lions all year. The Lions have simply got too many injuries. They have got 13 people on injured reserve, and at some point that starts to take hold. It's a problem, and Green Bay's pretty good. Tomorrow, Watson Brown at 3:20, underdog picks at 4. We're out of here. This is 94.9 The Fan.
Your sport